Welcome everybody to the Personal Health Summit 2015. Super excited to be interviewing James Swanwick today, talking all about relationships and health, and most excited about this whole summit series with 30 experts from all over the world talking to us about every aspect of health, from nutrition, from exercise, from movement, to mindfulness, consciousness, science, medicine, biotechnology, World Health Solutions. So many amazing conversations coming together with 100% intention that this information is for you, so that you can find out what's right for you at this point in time to be happy and healthy. So thank you so much for making the time to invest in your own health and your own futures to be here. Thank you so much to our major sponsors, the Ultimate Human Foundation, who, with their work working towards eliminating chronic pain and disease from the planet, and to PH360, who is looking at the tangible applications of all this epigenetic and personalized health information so that we can find out exactly what to do in terms of foods and exercise and environments and climates and people to hang out with, and the way our mind works and all these great things. So please check that out if you haven't already, onlinehealthsummit.com/PH360. So love to jump into a conversation with James today. James is a New York-based ESPN anchor on SportsCenter, author of the Insider Journalism Secrets, co-founder of international agency Croc Media. He's been a print or TV journalist for 20 years, writing for newspapers and magazines in the US, UK, and Australia, including Associated Press, Sky Sports, ESPN, a whole heap of different things. I won't even list off that. You can check out James's bio as you go. He's doing such amazing work in the area of relationships and teaching a lot of journalists and other graduates how to actually aspire to become successful in that area. So without any further ado, James, I'd love to welcome you to the show, and thanks so much for joining us here today.
Thanks for having me, Matt. Great to see you.
Beautiful. Well, we'd love to jump into a conversation about healthful relationships today, and particularly love just to hear a little bit more about your story and how you got to this point in time. I know you've spent a lot of time educating people all over the world in relationships and successful relationships. Could you tell us a little bit about how you got to that point in time? You've obviously got a great history in the media there, and we'd love to hear a bit about you.
Well, I had my heart broken by a beautiful Colombian woman. That's enough for anyone to really want to study relationships. But seriously, that's what happened. I was a grown man. I was mid-30s, and I fell in love, and she kind of just tore my heart into a million pieces. And I was depressed for a year. I was like walking around like, I used to be a pretty confident guy, but I was walking around almost moping. And, when I finally came out of that depression, I just steeled myself to learn everything I possibly could about relationships, about attraction, about the male mind, about the female mind. And in the process, I managed to unlock my own mind and my own ego, if you like, my own personality, understand why attraction takes place, understand why some relationships work and some don't. It's not always simple. It's a lot of times there's a lot of stuff going on, like physiology, people's background, emotions. But it's the fundamental aspect to your health and to your life. I know that we're talking about health here, but if you don't have good relationships, then you're not a healthy person. You're not healthy spiritually. You're not healthy mentally. You're not healthy physically. So it's everything, really. So my journey really was, I'm from Australia, obviously, and I lived in England, and I've been living in the US for 10 or 11 years. And I was a sports center anchor on ESPN. I was a journalist for a while, a relationship expert. And now part of what I do is help people in their relationships. I'm not the relationship experts per se, more than I interview a lot of experts, and that therefore kind of makes me the expert. So New York Times bestselling authors, psychologists, movie stars, I've kind of, interviewed them all to try and understand what are relationships.
Beautiful, mate. Thanks for sharing that. And I'd love to hear just a little bit about, from all the things you've learned, from all the experts that you've spent time with, from all the knowledge that you've gained, what would you say determines a healthy relationship? And is there any science or research that we know about to support this, or any of those sorts of things?
Yeah, well, there's a difference between a relationship and a long-term relationship, because a relationship can just be like a couple months, 3 months, and then there's a relationship that can be forever. A good friend of mine, a guy called Matt Boggs, wrote this book. I'll just hold it up to the camera here, called Project Everlasting. And he went around the country interviewing couples who'd been married at least 50 years and trying to get to the bottom of what made a good relationship. And a lot of the themes there are pretty simple, but life is simple. We complicate things, right? So it's things like having mutual respect, sharing the same values is super important. I mean, I dated a woman once and everything was great. We were terrific together, but she was super, super religious and I'm not as religious, and that was a problem. So we didn't share the same values there. Being able to argue effectively. You're always going to argue with your partner, but being able to listen and get your point across without being, stubborn and rigid, putting yourself in the other person's shoes. Dancing was funny enough a huge thing. A lot of these couples who stayed together for 50 years said that dancing together helped keep the intimacy alive. Even if the intimacy had kind of like fallen by the wayside in the bedroom, I guess, after many years, just the simple act of touching one another in dance was enough to reignite passion and reignite emotions. And accepting one another without interfering. So here's the thing. A lot of people try to change their partner. You're never really going to be able to change your partner. So you have to give your partner the freedom and the flexibility to be himself or to be herself, and then love that person for them. And then together you move forward as a combined unit. So think about those themes again. It's trust, it's arguing well, it's having fun, like dancing, keeping the passion alive, respect. Saying you're sorry is a huge thing. Like, just if you made a mistake, just say you're sorry. And this is not just for romantic relationships. This is for relationships with your friends, your colleagues. If you make a mistake, say you're sorry, because when you do that, it just diffuses the situation. So I'd encourage you, check out this book. It's very good, but that's, from some of the happiest, longest married couples out there.
That's beautiful, mate. Thank you for sharing. And there's hope for us yet is I guess a good summary there. There's so many people who are living successful lives and successful relationships, and that it's a very big possibility. The statistics are not quite great in that favour at the moment. 1 in 2 or more marriages that don't make it, and yet there's a lot of hope out there. So it's really great to hear about the concepts that can underpin a successful relationship. And again, thanks for sharing a lot of this information with us today, James. I'd love to just visit a little bit about how a healthy relationship can influence a healthy body or a healthy mind or a healthy spirit. You touched on that at the start of this call, and that's a really great conversation that we've enjoyed. A lot of conversations over this summit series, and really is starting to help us understand a lot more. We've learned that with our personal health, there's a lot more to us than just what we put in our body for food. The way that we think, the way that our mind works, the way that our emotions flow throughout our body are all important parts of who we are. And we're starting to understand a lot more about relationships and how someone else's energy can really influence who we are at any point in time. Can you just talk us through that a little bit?
Well, if you everything is connected, okay? So if you are healthy in mind, then you will then take actions that get you a healthy body. If you are happy in mind, then you are more inclined to make healthy choices when it comes to your food. So everything is intertwined. If you're having a really tough time, like think about when people break up, right? Especially women. Women love to do this. They will buy Ben & Jerry's ice cream and they will sit on the sofa and they'll watch sad, soppy movies and eat ice cream and just cry and feel upset, right? That's the worst thing that you can do in a breakup. The best thing you can do, according to Helen Fisher, who's one of the world's leading anthropologists, is get sunlight, exercise, eat well. But in that moment when you're all depressed mentally and you're hurting and your heart's been broken, what do? We reach for crap food, or we reach for alcohol, or we reach for Ben & Jerry's ice cream, or we just want to stay inside and we want to shrink down. So a poor relationship or a negative attitude in a relationship makes us shrink, makes us reach for a packet of Doritos or ice cream or drink the alcohol. We just kind of all common sense goes out the window. We stay indoors so we don't get vitamin D from the sunlight. And it's just this compound effect. It just keeps building and building and building until we're just we hit rock bottom, and then we have to come out of it and start again. So if you have a healthy relationship and you're in love, or even if you just have a healthy relationship with colleagues and platonic friends, science has shown that in turn triggers health benefits that we can't quite comprehend. Because you think about it, if you're happy and you're joyful and you're smiling, then you're more energetic. And because you're more energetic, you're more willing to go outside and go for a hike. And because you're more willing to go outside and go for a hike, you're more willing to run into other people and smile at other people. Then the smiles turn into more smiles, and then the connection turns into more connection, because all human beings want to feel connected. And that inspires us in all areas of our physicality and our health. So if you have a poor relationship, chances are your health is poor. And if you have great relationships, chances are that you're releasing serotonin, oxytocin, dopamine into your brain because you're happy, which is then going to trigger the correct actions of eating nutritious food, making sure you exercise more, and ultimately leading a happier life.
Beautifully said. Thank you, James. And I really love how you share that as a very holistic concept with us. I'd love just to explore a few of those points just a little bit further because there's a lot of people listening right now. And for those that are dialing in live here, please either request to raise your hand to join us in the conversation or pop your chats in the chat box. This is an interactive session. We'll be engaging live with James throughout this call and asking questions. So please go ahead and take advantage of James and his expertise here on the call. James, I'd just like to delve into a little bit more. You mentioned some things like, we might be eating junk food or might be drinking alcohol if we're in a situation where relationships aren't so great for us right now. And there's a lot of people that, that may have experienced that in their past, may be experiencing that right now, may be experiencing that in their future. They may have had, circumstances with parents or grandparents or other friends and family members that have been through this. Can you just talk us through a little bit more about that and what we're learning at the moment and the expertise and understandings that you have that we could benefit from if we're listening in?
Well, people who have trauma in their lives or depression or something's happened in their life, they're more, what we've found now is that you actually can change the genes in your body. So if you're a kid and you were bullied in the schoolyard, you can change your genealogy to the point where later on in life, you are more susceptible to high cortisol levels. Cortisol, of course, is the stress hormone, which, we want that cortisol level when there's danger, right? Like there's something coming at us, we want to be able to go bang and like escape the danger. But too much of it, which we get from stress in day-to-day life, affects our hormones, makes us put on weight, makes us tired, lethargic, causes diabetes, causes all these kind of things. So trauma creates cortisol, and a lot of cortisol creates fat, loss of libido, stress, poor skin condition, poor sleep, just has this spin-off effect. So any kind of emotional trauma, any kind of pain or suffering, any kind of depression, any kind of incident that's happened dating back to our childhood even, can have a spin-off effect for the rest of our life. Dr. Sharon Molam, I think his name was, wrote a book about this, proving or showing that they had twins, right? And these twins had pretty much, almost identical genealogy, but one of them was bullied as a kid and the other one wasn't. And the one who was bullied ended up being overweight, 40 pounds overweight, was depressed in his adult life. And the other one went on to have a successful business and was lean and mean and terrific. So there's a real correlation between our mental health and then our physical health, because our poor mental health creates that buildup of cortisol, and the cortisol then creates the inability to be able to burn fat, the feeling of being lethargic all the time, not being motivated. When you're not motivated, you're not exercising, you're not making good choices. So they go hand in hand. Poor relationships, poor mental health, poor attitude is going to result in poor physical health.
Beautiful, mate. Thank you for that great understanding, and really appreciate the concepts you're sharing with us and the tangible way that you deliver it. It really is great. We've got some good comments coming through. Guys, please post your questions that you have here for James as we're going along in this great chat. And James, I'd love to explore just a little bit more. We haven't actually talked much at all with any of the interviews so far in this series about alcohol. Is there any other things that you can share with us a little bit more about that and how that is influencing our families, our relationships, our friends, and maybe the way that we can use that to our advantage or often to our detriment in many situations, because it does alter a lot of the way that we act and the way that we even perceive things at that point in time. Is there some insights you can share with us particularly about that?
Yeah, well, alcohol causes breakups of relationships, pure and simple. Now, you may not even think that you're an alcoholic. You might be watching this now and listening to me, and maybe you just have one drink a day. Maybe you just got a nightly glass of wine after work, or maybe you're just having a couple beers with the guys when you're watching the football on a Sunday. No big deal, right? No big deal. But maybe, just maybe, that one glass of wine and that one beer, or those few beers on the weekend, is costing you. Maybe it's costing you money, health, relationships, your sleep, your mental clarity, and your focus. So more and more studies are coming out now showing the detrimental effects of alcohol over someone's life. Contrary to the belief of what the beer commercials and the billboards all say. You know, you've got billboards of George Clooney with his tequila looking very cool, promoting this idea that if you drink tequila, you'll be cool. You've got the Dos Equis guy, you know, that he is the most interesting man in the world. And if you drink Dos Equis beer, then you'll be able to get women flocking all over you. And then you see TV commercials during football games where it's all Coors Light and Budweiser, and they're goofy guys who are together having a good time and beautiful women. It's portraying this image of being in a tribe, being in a community, that alcohol equals a good time. But what we're seeing now is that alcohol, when you wake up hungover or when you wake up lethargic, tired, and you're irritable and you're argumentative because you're drinking, that's not a good time. That's far from a good time. So even if you are only drinking one drink a day, that one drink a day is still costing you, because it affects your sleep. And when you affect your sleep, you wake up irritable. And when you're irritable, you're more prone to being argumentative. And when you're more prone to being argumentative, you're more prone to having poor relationships, whether it's romantic, whether it's platonic, whether it's with your family. So all of these things combined, you know, listen, I haven't drunk alcohol in 5 years. I quit in 2010 just because I was just sick of it. I wasn't an alcoholic or anything. I just had the occasional, I was a social drinker. But it really wasn't serving me. I was tired of being tired. And so I stopped. And since then, wow, my whole life has transformed. Like, I'm positive, I'm happy, I'm healthy, attracted a great caliber of person into my life. So, I mean, I think it's pretty clear. If you reduce or quit alcohol, your relationships are going to be a lot better.
Beautiful, mate. Thank you for sharing those words with us. And it is a different perspective from what we do here. And, you know, a lot of the science and research that's out there wanting to prove that alcohol is good for us. And yet we look at it you know, very much from a biochemistry point of view. We don't often consider the emotional correlations or the psychological applications to our relationships and the way that that influences our health as well. So I appreciate your perspective there. And I guess for those listening at home right now, you know, this is a personalized health summit that, you know, it's a confusing time and space for us to be in. We don't know if we should be drinking wine because of the resveratrol in it. You know, we shouldn't be because the relationships that, you know, the effect on our relationships. It's very hard for people to navigate through a lot of the information and confusion these days. Where do we start? What can we do? What's our first step here for those that are maybe are just, you know, having a drink once or twice a week? What about for those that are having, you know, a drink once or twice a day or even more than that? Where do we start? How do we change our patterns and our habits? Because that's often a bit more difficult than what it sounds.
Well, I'll tell you what, first of all, we've got to know a few physical facts about alcohol. And it doesn't matter how many times liquor companies come out and say a glass a day is good for your heart and all this kind of nonsense. The bottom line is that alcohol is a poison, okay? It's full of toxins. And the National Institute of Health says it takes 7 to 10 days for the toxins to leave your body, okay? So you have a glass of wine, it's not leaving your system for a week and a half. So you're still not at your optimum performance for 10 days, for up to 10 days after you have that glass of wine. That's important to know that. The other thing is that it increases the risk of breast cancer in women. It increases the risk of low testosterone. It lowers a man's testosterone. It makes your libido go down. Like I said, it affects your sleep. And when you're not sleeping properly and you don't have that melatonin that's being created, that's meaning that you're not burning as much fat, you're not as relaxed, you're not as happy, you're not as joyful. There's all these spin-off effects. But you asked me, what can you do? Well, there's a couple things. If you want to reduce your alcohol content or quit, first thing I would do is just get the alcohol out of your eyesight. So if you have a kitchen at home and you've got bottles of wine sitting on the kitchen bench, get them out of eyesight. Either get them out of the house, put them in the garage, put them down below knee level so you don't see it. Because when you walk into the kitchen and you see that wine, you're more inclined to want to drink it. Where if you don't see it, it's out of sight and out of mind. The other thing is when you go out and you're socializing with friends, a lot of people like to socialize, right? We equate alcohol with a good time, we're having a fun time. You do not need the alcohol to have the good time. You just got to be a stronger person. You just got to have some better people skills. And so what I do is when I walk into a bar or a restaurant, this is what I do. I walk straight up to the bar and I say, I'll have a water, ice, and a piece of lime, please. And that's it. Whenever I sit down at a restaurant and the waiter comes up to me and says, hi, can I get you started with some drinks? I'll say, yes, thanks. I'll have a water, ice, and a piece of lime, thanks. That's it. That's just my stock thing. Whenever anyone asks me for a drink, I say, yeah, water, ice, and a piece of lime. And I just drink that all night. It is delicious, Matt. It is delicious. It's refreshing. You just sip on that, 3 or 4 drinks of that a night. You wake up the next morning with beautiful skin. You're refreshed. You're hydrated. You feel amazing. The other thing is you've got to get this idea out of your head that you associate alcohol with pleasure. Everyone thinks that if you drink alcohol, then you're having a good time, right? It's not true. It's not true. Because here's the thing. When you crave a drink, you're not craving it for pleasure. You're craving it to relieve you of your craving. Okay? Because alcohol is a poison. And when you put a poison in your body and it leaves the system, it leaves you wanting more, right? And so you want more, not because it's so pleasurable and it tastes so good, but because your body is saying, I'm actually withdrawing from the poison that you've given me. I need more. And so what happens? We get into this endless cycle of like the highs get higher, but the highs get lower, the lows get lower as well, and it's just this endless cycle of like always wanting a drink. So here's the other thing: when you take a drink, it takes 4 minutes for your brain to register that you've actually put alcohol in your body. So you see these people like, I need a beer, and they have like a big swig of beer, and they go, oh. It's actually they haven't actually got a physical reaction yet because the brain doesn't even know that it's had alcohol. So it's like this, it's all mental. It's this placebo mental effect that somehow alcohol is giving you pleasure. It's not. All it's doing is relieving you of your withdrawal. So when you understand that, and you understand that alcohol is a poison, and you understand that if you just get it out of your eyesight, you're going to drink less of it, and you understand that you can go out and just sip on water and still be the most interesting man in the room without having to drink Dos Equis beer, then your relationship with alcohol can change pretty quickly.
Beautiful, mate. Thank you for sharing that very clear and tangible perspective and some really actionable tips for everybody listening right now. And I'd like to jump to a couple little questions as we go here because there's some great points coming up, and thank you for your questions coming through. Peter says, what about couples who enjoy having wine with dinner or going out for cocktails with friends? It's a great question, Peter. And James, could you help us navigate through that situation or those circumstances?
Yeah, sure. Well, look, is there any reason why do we associate a bottle of wine with romance? Why do we associate champagne with celebration? It's all marketing. It's all marketing from liquor brands who want to feed you their product. But somewhere in history does it say that, well, if you're going to sit at home and have a romantic meal with your wife or your husband, that you must have a bottle of wine? Who says so? Why can't you have a romantic dinner at home with your wife or husband without the bottle of wine, with some Pellegrino water or a juice? Why is it that when there's a wedding and we toast the bride, we all have to have bottles of champagne? Who says so? Who says we have to toast with champagne? I'll tell you who says. The liquor companies who are producing champagne. Who says that in order to go out and enjoy time with other couples, we have to go out and be holding glasses of wine or beer or liquor in order to be having fun time with other couples? Who says that? Who says that? Where does it say it in history that that the only way I'm going to enjoy my time with other couples is if I'm drinking alcohol? Who says that? I don't know. Why can't you just go out there and enjoy yourself without the champagne, without the wine, without the beer? You can. It's just been ingrained so much into our culture as the norm that drinking alcohol creates pleasure and drinking wine over a candlelit dinner creates romance and drinking beer with the lads creates camaraderie, that we believe it. It's just a habit. It's just a pattern. That's all it is. But guess what? I've created the habit of going out and having immense fun with my friends. I go to weddings, I'm dancing on tables, I'm having a fun time, and I'm drinking water the whole time. I'm watching the NFL every Sunday with my buddies, and I'm drinking my water, they're drinking the beer, they're not sleeping well, they're waking up with a hangover, I'm waking up going, yes, it's a brand new day. I'm having the most fun at parties and going out to dinner because I'm not drinking. So to answer to Peter's question, you don't need the wine. Just put some candlelight up, read us some poetry, get some nice, beautiful, non-alcoholic cocktails, and you're good to go.
Thank you for the very passionate answer there, James. And I think you deliver that with such a confidence way. I hope that everybody's taking note of the way that James is able to approach things and able to share that information with us too, because I mean, I'm the same, James. I haven't had alcohol for many, many years, but it's such a common part of a lot of life for people. And I know that there's a lot of the younger demographics on this on the calls listening in, and also some of the elderly. We've actually got a really good 2 questions that are coming in here that I'd like to sort of combine into one. But a question from Adam who says, without alcohol, how do you develop the courage to approach women? Which is a very common question from men. And we've got a comment straight after that from Janet, who says, it's hard if you're single and want to go out to a pub to meet people and be the only one not having a cocktail. Plus, it does make me more comfortable since I can be a bit shy. So, James, could you just talk us through this? Because a lot of people may be having alcohol because it may help them with their confidence, or may help them understand, may help them just be able to approach people better and lower a few barriers maybe in their mind. Could you help us navigate through this a little bit about relationships and about, in this case, new relationships and how people may engage in that with some tangible tips?
Sure, I get this a lot. I get a lot of people saying, oh, how do I approach it? Like I get guys saying, how do I approach a woman without the alcohol? First of all, let me tell you this. The number of women, I shouldn't say the number of women, the quality of the woman that I was able to attract into my life from when I quit drinking was night and day, 100 times better than when I was drinking. So that's the first thing. When you don't drink, I'm addressing this to a guy now, right? When women find out that you don't drink, or you've quit drinking, or you just choose not to drink, they don't think that you're some freak or there's something wrong with you. They're actually really, really impressed. They're actually super attracted to the fact that you have enough self-confidence in yourself not to feel the need to have to drink in a social setting. Women are very much attracted to power and confidence. And when you express that confidence that you're not drinking and you don't care, that's very attractive and very alluring to a woman, okay? The other thing is you don't need alcohol in order to have the courage to approach a woman. You just got to have better approach skills. That's it, plain and simple. You just got to be a stronger person. And that just comes with basic people skills. John C. Maxwell wrote a book, Winning with People, talks about taking a genuine interest in people. Man, when you take a genuine interest in people, if you're a guy and you're interested in a woman, you take a genuine interest in that woman, she's going to be so much more attracted to you than if you're like turning up and being the funny, goofy guy who's had a few drinks and then who's slobbering all over her at the end of the night because you feel like you need that alcohol in order to approach her. So you've got to get it out of your head that you need alcohol in order to approach women. You do not, because what I found, and what I know thousands of people who've taken my 30-day no alcohol challenge have found, is that when you cut the alcohol or you reduce the alcohol, the quality of your conversation goes up, the quality of your attraction goes up. People take you, people find you more engaging, more alluring. You're able to ask better questions. You're able to have conversations on a much deeper level. Okay. The other thing is you have to get this out of your head that reducing or quitting alcohol is hard. It's not hard. It's easy. You just got to reframe your thought patterns. So you are not making a sacrifice when you reduce or quit alcohol, right? You're giving yourself a gift. So instead of you saying to yourself, oh no, I have to stop drinking alcohol, this is so hard, you say, yes, I only get to drink water tonight. Awesome. Yes, I cannot wait for the feeling when I wake up tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. on a Saturday and feel amazing because I only drank the water with lime last night. You see how that's a different frame? But too many people are like, they associate the alcohol with the good time. They associate the alcohol with the pleasure. But as we now know, alcohol doesn't give you pleasure. It just relieves you of your craving, okay? So what was the other question, Matt? There was a woman there who asked a question.
Yeah, it was very similar in the opposite way that going out to the pub to have a drink can help because sometimes tends to be a bit shy in talking to people. So
right,
I guess if you can answer that from the opposite roles would be a great holistic perspective here.
Sure. Well, before you go out at night, okay, commit to having the most fun of anyone there. You're not going out going, oh my God, I'm the only one who's not drinking, and you're all timid and like, are they going to know that I'm not drinking? This is going to be really awkward because everyone else is going to be drinking and someone's going to offer me a drink and then I'm going to have to say, no, I'm not drinking. People are going to ask me questions and oh my God. Like when you go out with that attitude, you're already dead. Instead, you're going out with the attitude, it's like, I am giving myself the gift of being the funnest person tonight. I am going to engage everyone. I'm going to walk in with a smile on my chest back and I'm going to say, hi, what was the woman's name who asked the question, by the way?
Let me jump here again. Hang on. Janet.
What was it? Sorry?
Janet.
Janet. Hi, I'm Janet. What's your story? That's amazing. I would love it if a woman called Janet walked up to me and said, "Hi, I'm Janet. What's your name? What's your story?" Amazing, big smile. I've been doing this for 5.5 years. From 2010, I've been going out, haven't drunk. People think I'm drunk sometimes. They think I'm drunk because I'm having such a good time. But you know why I'm having such a good time? Because I got lots of energy, and because I love being fully present, because I love being genuinely interested in other people. So Janet, do some people skills, get some people skills. I got a program called People Skills Reboot. You can get on my website at jamesswanwick.com. You can just buy How to Win Friends and Influence People, or John C. Maxwell's book, Winning with People. Just practice being genuinely interested in other people, and when you walk into a room, smiling and just owning the fact that you don't drink. It's no big deal. When you've got this physiology of just like, yeah, I'm not drinking at the moment. No, I'm good. No, I'm just taking a break. No one cares. No one really gives a damn that you're not drinking. You give a damn. You think they do, but no one really does. And when you can embrace that thought, and you can just go out and be yourself and have fun and be like smiley and vibrant and energetic, it's easy. It's easy. And what's more, the people who are seeing you doing that without drinking, they're going to be jealous. They're going to be like, man, I wish I could do that. That's amazing.
Very, very great. It's very real, very down to earth. I really appreciate your perspective, James. It's just very matter of fact, the way you delivered it, and it doesn't need to be anything more than that. It's very simple. So thank you so much for sharing that perspective with us. And we're gonna if you could just share a little bit more those links again, James. Where can people find out more about this these concepts you're talking about? Could you just give us your website link where people can go and check this out?
Yeah, well, I do. I have a program called the 30-Day No Alcohol Challenge, and that teaches people how to quit for 30 days just to see what it's like. I'm not saying you got to quit alcohol forever. I'm just saying try quitting alcohol for 30 days. We've got an amazing supportive Facebook group community, closed group of people who are official members who all support one another. But if you just go to 30daynoalcoholchallenge.com, you can find out more on that. For the People Skills program, which is called People Skills Reboot, you can just go to jamesswanwick.com/people. And I've interviewed a lot of relationship experts, a lot of a woman called Susan Rowan who wrote a book called How to Work a Room. And I teach you how to walk into a room without the alcohol and just light it up so everyone's looking at you going, who is that person? I want to talk to that person right now. And you're doing it without a drop of alcohol.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, mate. And I really encourage everybody to take advantage of James's very real, very matter of fact, and very down to earth information here. If you're looking to make a big difference in your life, especially with relationships from this point of view, 30daynoalcoholchallenge.com and jamesswanwick.com. The links are in the feed, so please check them out. I really encourage you to look at that. James, we're going to switch gears a little bit here, back to some other questions from earlier in the conversation about relationships. So thanks so much for sharing with us a lot about alcohol and the negative effects it can have on us, not just with our physiology, from the fact it can be a very toxic substance for us, but also from the fact that it can alter us in a very different way in terms of our psychology and even how we wake up the next morning, as you say. So we've got a question from Noel here that says, for someone who feels heartbroken, so we're just jumping back to the relationship side of things, for someone who feels heartbroken or hit by an emotional 2x4, not sure how you convince them to take a walk in the sunshine or even to get them out of the house. How would you address that for someone suffering? That's a great question, Noel. Just understand there's a lot of people who feel hurt or who feel sad, who feel like they're suffering, who may be going through some tough times. Where do we start a conversation with them, James, and how do we help them navigate through the space that they're in at that time?
So is someone going through a relationship breakup? Is that right?
Someone who feels heartbroken or hit by an emotional 2x4. So
yeah. Well, let's just say we'll use the example of a breakup, a romantic breakup, shall we? And then if it's something else going through emotion, the same principles really apply. But again, I talk about Helen Fisher. She wrote this book. I've got it right here in front of me, Why We Love. Okay, Why We Love. And she studied the brain, the dopamine, the serotonin, the oxytocin, all these people going through breakups and how they cure it. So I'm going to give you 10 tips right now, really quick, okay? If it's a breakup, you've got to remove all evidence of the person that you've broken up with. When that Colombian woman broke up with me, I still had photos of her in my phone for a year. So I kept looking at her. I was like going to bed, looking at her, like pining over her. It It doesn't do you any good. You've got to get rid of that. Second thing you can do is meditate, just the art of sitting there and just sitting in silence. I know it sounds crazy. I got up this morning. It's hard work. Like I did it for 5 minutes this morning. It's hard, but something unexplainable happens when you sit by yourself in silence. You get this peace, you get this calm, you get this clarity that comes over you. So definitely try to meditate. You must get up and exercise. You've got to move your body, because all depression is just a state. It's a certain feeling that you have. And in order to get out of that state, you just got to change your state. So how do you change your state? You get up, you move around, you breathe in, you breathe, okay? You breathe. And that changes your physiology. You go from one of being depressed and kind of lethargic and tired to one of like up and about. Sunlight, vitamin D from the sun triggers happiness, okay? It's proven fact that the sunlight that hits this skin right here changes your physiology. It gives you energy, it gives you hope, it gives you this positivity that just shines through your body. Sources of people who live in, look, I live in California. Do I look like a depressed person to you? I'm smiling because the sun is shining all the damn time. And they show that the high suicide rates are from people who live in countries where there's very little sunlight. The northern hemisphere countries where it's cold and it's gray all the time. I mean, I was just in London, man, that place is kind of depressing at times, you know, when you're over there in the wintertime. So you've got to get out there and you've got to get some sunshine, okay? You cannot eat crap ice cream, sitting on that home, eating sugary foods. You eat sugary foods, I mean, it's just a recipe for disaster at any time. Especially don't do it when you're heartbroken, because you're going to be sitting on there going, oh my God, I'm so brokenhearted. And you're just going to wake up feeling like crap because you've just given yourself a massive sugar boost. It doesn't make you happy. It makes you even more depressed. The other thing is alcohol. Do not touch alcohol. People go and like they reach for the bottle. It's like, oh, I need the alcohol. That's just a recipe for disaster. You want to be even more depressed? Go and drink alcohol, because it's a depressant. Alcohol is a depressant. The other thing I would say is don't reach out to the person that you broke up with, because it's like alcohol. Once you have one drink, then you find yourself having a second and a third. The same thing. You go back to an ex-partner. You send them a text, and they text you back. Then they send you another text. Next thing you know, you're talking on the phone again, and you're just spiraling out of control. So you just have to move on. Also, you've got to change your environment. So what that means is that instead of going to the same restaurants, the same bars, doing the same routine, you want to create new neurons in your brain, new stimuli. So go to a different restaurant, go and hang out with different people, go and do new exercise. Don't do what you did with your former partner, because it'll remind you of that person. And even if you have to do it, the same things that you did as you did with your partner, add some new things to the mix, because you want to rewire your brain into new possibilities and new doors of opportunity. I don't know if that was 10 or not, but I think it was at least 7 or 8. I think that's pretty good. So if you've got a friend like that, just get them off the sofa, get them out of the darkness into the sunlight, get them eating right, get them doing exercise, get them doing new things, meeting new people, new stimuli. All of those things are going to help you. It's going to shave down your depression and shave down your, the process, if you like, of trying to get over your recently departed beloved.
Well, if it wasn't 10, it was pretty close to 10, mate. So thanks again for being able to share the very tangible things that we can be doing right now. And the comments coming through are fantastic. I really appreciate, and everybody's really appreciating, how real this is. It's very straight up. It's very tangible. It's very implementable information that we can take hold of right now. So if you are in these situations and circumstances, like a lot of the comments we've had coming through, please take this advice on board and know that you actually have the power and a choice to change your circumstances right now. You have control of all this. That's the whole idea of this summit. You've heard from all the amazing experts that are here delivering information for you so that you can find out how to tangibly change any situation that you're in right now and move towards a space of health and happiness. So we've got some other great questions coming through here. We've got a great question from Cynthia here, James, that asks, James, do you have any suggestions to get healthy with a partner? How can I make healthy nutrition and exercise fun and a habit with my partner? That's a really good question, Cynthia, because often we find maybe ourselves that are enjoying a space of health and maybe our significant other isn't, or we have to sort of broach that conversation. Have you got some tips for us there, James, as to how we can navigate through that?
Yeah, well, I would just say to your partner, you know, I really love it. I really love the way that you sweat when we exercise together. It really turns me on. And then what man doesn't want to hear that? Like, he loves that. And so all of a sudden he's inspired to want to get out and exercise with you. Or you can say, you know, oh, I just love it when I see you eating healthy food. It just like, and you feel so, and you look so fit and healthy and you're so health conscious. It just really turns me on. What man is not going to be inspired to want to eat healthy after that? So you have to find these kind of things where you got to teach your partner, or you got to encourage your partner to eat healthy and to exercise and to make healthy choices because of how it makes you feel. Okay. So you want to say, for a man, it's, again, you just play to his ego, right? It's like, I love your big, strong muscles. Have you been working out in the gym and eating properly? Oh man, I love your muscles. It's like the man's now going to be like, shit, I got to get to the gym. I got to eat properly, right? That's the greatest motivation ever. And then for a man who's trying to convince his female partner on how to do it, it could be like you just talk about connection, right? You say, oh, you know, I really feel connected to you when we go for walks together. You know, I love it when we go on hikes together. It's like when we got that alone time where we can just really just walk side by side. I love that. That's like when I feel the most connected to you. If you're a woman, you're like, shit, I got to go on more hikes with my man. You know, let's get out there. Let's exercise some more. Or you can say like, oh, you know what I loved? I loved it when we had that super healthy meal. Man, it was delicious. What was it? Remember we did that kale and that spinach and stuff like that? Man, I just love exploring like really healthy things. I love it when you get excited about it, because when you get excited about it, I get excited about it. And it's just like, it just makes me drawn to you so much more. And I just feel that connection with you so much more. You see what I mean? So you're trying to put positive energy around health, good, healthy choices. You're not saying to them, girlfriend, you're fat. Girlfriend, you need to lose 10 pounds. And you're not saying like, honey, listen, you need to get your ass in the gym, because that's not going to inspire anyone. You've got to put a positive charge to it, and you've got to find a way to position it in a way where the other person really wants to do that thing with you. Otherwise, you're just butting heads the whole time.
Beautiful. Thanks, James. And could not be getting any more real than this conversation. So thanks for sharing it, you know, just direct as it comes. I really appreciate that, the way that you speak about these topics and the way that you deliver the information and share the information. There's no sugarcoating. It's just very real information. So thank you for that. And a big thanks from all the people that are commenting through. We've got another question here from Peter, who asks, what about the people who escape with exercise?
I lost you there for a second, I think. Sorry, you're breaking up on me there. Okay, could you ask the question again, please?
I can. It's a question from Peter, who says, what about the people who escape with exercise, like mentally escape? I know someone who had a bad divorce and just pushed his body to the limits. Is that a good thing?
No, it's not a good thing to do anything, pushing anything to the limit. You want to do everything in moderation. It's absolutely a terrific thing if you throw yourself into exercise and in good nutrition and physical activity to try and get over depression or some trauma that's happened, because physical exercise releases endorphins, right? Dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, all of this spinning around in your brain makes you feel pleasure, makes you feel happiness. But you don't want to push it too far either. You don't want to be obsessive. Don't be obsessive with anything. Too much of anything is always going to be a bad thing, okay? So I would just tell your friend, if you were referring to a friend, just scale it back a little bit. Encourage them to scale it back. Listen, I exercise 6 times a week. I'm not obsessed with exercising, but I love the feeling that I get after I exercise. Like like my motivation for going into the gym and lifting weights. I don't really enjoy the lifting weights, but I enjoy the feeling that I get for hours after I lift the weights. And that's enough motivation for me. So I'm not obsessed, like I have to be in the gym 7 days a week, working out. No, because that's too much. I take 1 day off where I do nothing. So I'll lift heavy weights for 4 days a week. I'll go for a run on a 5th day, and on a 6th day, I'll just go for a gentle walk. And then on 7th day, I'll just do nothing. I'll do absolutely nothing. I'll just take it off. That's not obsessive. That's just consistent. And habits and a pattern of consistency is what makes you progress, which is what makes you happy, which gives you long-term health and happiness and spirituality and great relationships, and makes you wealthy in money and in life and in relationships and love. It's creating those habits, those patterns of just doing like 4 or 5 days a week. Like everyone has good habits, everyone has bad habits. You wake up in the morning and you brush your teeth, that's a good habit. When you go to sleep at night, you brush your teeth, that's a good habit. But drinking too much, not exercising enough, eating a packet of Doritos or getting the McDonald's Happy Meal on your way home from work, that's a bad habit. We know it's a bad habit. So don't be obsessive. Just create a good habit consistency. Here's one thing I know to be true, right? I'll just finish with this. Champions in anything, okay, they do not do extraordinary things. What champions do is the ordinary things, but they do them without thinking. They just make them a habit. It's just a habit. I don't even think about going to the gym now. I just get up and I go. I don't even think about the healthy options that I buy at Trader Joe's now. I just go straight to the produce section and I buy it. I don't even think about it. So just create that habit, and when you one little habit consistently gives you all-round health, both mentally, spiritually, and physically.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Much appreciated. And we've got an interesting question here that I'm going to ask, and we'll see where this goes. The question from Violet says, James, I have a question for you. Do you believe that marriage or monogamous relationships in general are the best when it comes to our health and happiness? Very interested in your perspective and your answer here.
Yeah, well, they've done a study, and I'll answer it in relation to raising a child. I think this will be the best way to answer this. So what they've found is that there are three, the best way, the second best way, and the worst way to raise a child is this. The best way is two people who love one another in a marriage, raising the child together. That is the best chance that that child has for an emotionally sound, happy life, okay? Mother and father love one another, raise the child together. That's the optimum way. The second best way is a divorced family, a mother and father who are divorced or separated, but who don't fight and have mutual respect and who are friendly, who raise the child together, even though it's in different homes, okay? That's the second best way. Do you know what the worst way is to raise a child? If you've got two people in a marriage or in a relationship who are stuck in that relationship, raising that child, and they're fighting all the time. They're at one another. And there's like this stress in the house. The child can feel that energy. The child's genetic makeup is changing because he or she sees and feels that energy. I go back to Helen Fisher, the world's leading anthropologist. The three top ways. One is mother and father who love one another. That's the best way to raise a child. Second best way is mother and father who no longer love one another, but who don't fight and who like one another and who have mutual respect, is the second best way. And the worst way is if you're in a relationship and you hate one another and you're just staying together to raise the kid, and the kid feels that stress and that pressure. So to answer that question, it seems to me that the better quality of your relation, I mean, this is just stands to reason, right? Like if you have a great relationship and it's built on respect and courtesy and love, you're going to be healthy, and you're going to, and your kids and the people around you are going to be healthy. But if you're in a relationship that's brutal and nasty and vindictive and you're fighting all the time, that negative energy is going to affect you. It's going to turn up in your spirit. It's going to turn up in your health. It's going to turn up in the way that you breathe. It's going to turn up in the muscles in your face. People are going to see that. Your posture is going to be down like this. So whether it's a marriage, whether it's polyamory, whether it's a monogamous relationship without the marriage, you have to have respect, courtesy. You cannot be fighting. Because as soon as you're fighting, as soon as you're nasty, that's when cortisol goes up. That's when your health goes down. That's when the quality of your life really suffers.
Wow, thank you for sharing, mate. Much appreciated. I wanted to jump another question that's asked from Violet. It asks, why am I attracted to select few men and not the others?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Yeah, can you hear this connection okay?
Yeah, can you just repeat the question again? I didn't catch it, sorry.
Sorry, I'm not sure if we got the connection working here. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
I think we're back. The question here is actually from Violet, and it says, James, I have a question. Hang on, sorry, let me just make sure I've got this one here. James, tell us more about attraction. Why am I attracted to select few men and not all the others? Is a question from Violet, and we can put that back around from either party's direction, I guess. Why do some people feel like they don't attract many people, or some people are looking for a right partner? They find it very difficult to find a partner, and other people seem to have a lot of luck, if you like, in that area. Have you got some tips or some techniques or some information or some understanding that we can have?
Sure. Well, I can't answer Violet's question specifically to her without knowing more information. I don't have all the information at hand. Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me okay? The screen seems to be frozen a little bit. You okay?
I've got you loud and clear, mate, if you want to keep going.
Okay, cool. So I can't really answer Violet's question specifically to her without knowing a little bit more about her and her situation. But some people are some women are attracted to the bad man, right? The bad man, because their father maybe was an absent father, because their father was a bad man to them. And so women tend to be more attracted to men who remind them of their father. Men are attracted to women who remind them of their mother. This goes back to evolutionary psychology. Women tend to be, in general, attracted to a powerful man, a man who can protect them. That was because back when we were cavemen and cave women, a woman's survival very much depended on partnering with a man who could fight off the bear that would come in and potentially eat her and her offspring, fight off rival tribes who would potentially come in and rape them or kill them, pillage. And so it was in a woman's best interest to be able to partner with a man who had physical strength and stature, who could go out there and hunt food and with his hands and really protect. And today, that level of protection, a lot of people equate to money. So it's like, that's why you find like a lot of women are very attracted to wealthy men or successful men. It's the same kind of psychology, because back in the day, it was like a woman needed, to partner with a strong man for her own survival. Today, it's the same thing, protection. These are things we value. For men, why are certain men attracted to particularly aesthetic pleasing women? If you read Dr. David Buss, who wrote a book called Evolutionary Psychology, a woman's sign of fertility is very alluring and exciting to a man. Even if she can no longer have children, if she has that hourglass frame, or if she displays signs of femininity with her hair, or if her hair is healthy, if her skin is nice, these kind of aesthetic pleasing things, these are all demonstrations of a sign of fertility. And men, and deep ingrained in our culture, we want our genes to go on. We want to be able to procreate. And if you read the book Lessons of History by Will Durant, one of the greatest books on history ever, he says that one of the fundamental lessons of life is that life must procreate, life must duplicate. And so if you believe in that kind of evolutionary psychology, and you've read those books and you understand that, then deep ingrained in our psyche is this ability for men to want to procreate and make sure that their gene line goes on, and for women to feel protected by a powerful stature man. Now, to answer, I think it was Janet's question, or Violet's question, I'm sorry, to come back full circle, everyone has different upbringings, whether you were raised in a foster home or with one parent or two parents, or whether you're raised in a certain culture. So you will always be people will always be attracted to different things. But what doesn't change is that women will be attracted to, from a deep down in our psychology point of view, a man who can protect, a man who can provide, and men will always be attracted to a woman who can care and raise children, even if they're not going to have children, and who displays a lot of signs of femininity, because that sign of femininity displays fertility, and deep in the man's psyche is the ability to want to procreate. That's getting very sort of deep into psychological issues. I hope that kind of generally answered the question of Violet. Sorry if it didn't. Check out Evolutionary Psychology by Professor David Buss, though, Violet. It might help you a little bit more.
Beautiful. Definitely covered great content. I apologise if this connection is a little bit at the moment. Hopefully that people can hear what we're talking about. We've got a couple more information. Can you hear me okay, James, at the moment?
Yeah.
Beautiful. I just wanted to visit a conversation that you touched on before, and this comes down to a question about habits and about acceptance. And Adam asks, James, how do you develop a habit of accepting your partner just as they are? And I'd love to sort of visit some of that in a very tangible sense, if you can. For a lot of people that do find, that maybe they have disagreements, maybe they're intolerant, maybe they're frustrated, maybe they have arguments regularly. You talked at the start of this call about the concept of, just making sure that we understand each other and we give each other space and respect each other and trust each other. The principles make sense. It's really very well worded. Sometimes it's a bit more difficult to put this into tangible sense. Could you just walk us through that? How can we actually go about accepting someone? What's the first step for those listening at home? How do we actually physically go about accepting someone as they are?
Well, you have to really make a commitment to yourself to that this is the person that you want to be with, right? Like, first of all, you got to say, do I love this person? Is this person got the same values, the same morals as me? Yes. Are we heading in the same direction? Okay. They're the fundamentals, right? Then thereafter, maybe your partner's a little messy. Can you put up with that? Is that okay? Can you accept the fact that he is always going to be a little messy? Maybe he eats with his mouth open. Is that okay? Is that a game breaker? Can you accept that? So it gets to the point where, like, a lot of times people argue about these little things, or these seemingly little things, like someone eats with their mouth open, someone talks over the top of them. Maybe that's not a small issue, it's probably a big issue. Maybe they snore, maybe they're, I don't know, whatever it is, whatever the issue. But what you have to get clear in your mind when it comes to acceptance is, what do you love that person for? What are the attributes? What are the positive attributes of your partner that are going to stay with you in the long term? Why am I fundamentally with this person? Does this person make me a better man or a better woman? Does this person inspire me? And does this person encourage me? And am I a better person or a happier person because I have this person in my life? Now, when you're very clear on those fundamentals, then it becomes a lot easier to accept other issues to do with your partner. In this case, I'm using the example of eating with the mouth open or snoring or something like that. It could be anything. So as long as you understand your value and you understand what you want out of the relationship, and your partner is giving you that and making you feel that, okay, and you concentrate on all the positive attributes of your partner, then accepting your partner for who he or she is, which is completely different to you, and those other things, becomes a lot easier, right? Because then you can just love them for their differences, for their little idiosyncrasies. But if you're focused on chewing with the mouth open, or you're focused on the fact that he or she is a little bit messy, or you're focused on the fact that they're always running late, and you're just focused on those things, and you're not focused on these beautiful things that this person brings to you, then you're never going to be happy. It's a recipe for disaster. So to answer the question, how do you practice the art of acceptance? Well, I would write down on a piece of paper all of the things that you love about your partner. Just write them down. Get a piece of paper and get a pen and just write them down. And maybe write them down on one side, and if you want, you can write down on the other side all the things that annoy you about your partner. And then you look at those things and you go, well, what do I value the most? Do I value the trust and the loyalty? Do I value the sex? Do I value the passion? Do I value the intimacy? Or do I value the fact that he or she is not messy, or he or she eats with their mouth closed and is polite? Like, what do I value the most? Because once you've got that clear, then it becomes very easy to accept the person for those things that maybe annoy you just a little bit.
That's a beautiful perspective, James, to really focus on the gifts and the strengths and what we love about each other. That really does bring home a great message, to this whole summit series about really finding out who we are, understanding who everybody else is and how different we are to each other, and really loving what everybody has gifts in. And it's not for us to judge or put our thoughts and opinions and beliefs on someone else. It's about to understand who they are and to really appreciate them and love them for who they are, and to realize and understand that we're all different people, but together we can share a really common journey that's beautiful. So thank you for your words there, mate. And I'd love just to ask you, James, a final question to sort of summarize everything that we've talked about today is, if you give us an understanding about what you see, the future of relationships being. We have a lot of poor statistics right now for relationships and longevity. We have a lot of issues with, as you talked about today, with alcoholism and lots of other things that can influence our relationships in a negative way. There's so many other things, from the way that we think to stress and emotion, all these other things that are mixed in to relationships and successful relationships, even the way we understand about each other. What hope do we have as humanity, and where do you see us going, and how can we be successful
now? And here's the thing, an extrovert maybe shouldn't be romantically partnered with an extrovert. Maybe an extrovert should be partnered with an introvert. But if you don't know if you're an extrovert or an introvert, there are tests that you can take online to figure that out. If you are a thinker versus a feeler, there's people who feel emotions and there are people who think through emotions. Sometimes a thinker is better matched with a feeler, and sometimes a thinker and a thinker are not perfectly matched. So I think the future really of relationships is going to be understanding yourself. Peter F. Drucker talked, one of the great business coaches of all time, wrote a book called Managing Oneself. And he said the most important thing is to know yourself. It's just to know your own personality. So I think if you can do a personality test, do the Myers-Briggs, do the DISC, just Google personality tests online and really understand who you are as a person, how you respond in certain situations, then you can identify the personality of your potential romantic partner. And when you identify that, then you can see if you are a match or not. There's a great book called The 5 Love Languages. And I've forgotten who the author is, but Gary someone, I think. And he talks about, we all speak different languages in romantic relationships. Some people like it when their partner speaks words of affirmation towards them. Some people like it when their partners give them physical gifts. Some people like it when they just spend quality time together. Some people like it when they do acts of service. Now, I've had romantic partners, former romantic partners of mine, give me physical gifts. I couldn't give a damn about getting a physical gift. I'm kind of like, sometimes I even get annoyed. I'm like, I don't want a physical gift, even though it's like heartfelt and it's a lot of thought into it. I don't really care for that. What lights me up is words of affirmation. When a woman says to me, wow, I really admire you, James, I'm like, whoa, I light up. When a woman says, wow, you look really manly and masculine today, James, I'm like, yes. So my love language is very clearly words of affirmation. But another person's love language, another man's love language might be gifts. And so if he's not getting gifts from his partner, he's like pissed off. He's not happy in the relationship. But no one would even know that language, that love language exists, right? Unless you know your own personality, unless you know the personality of your partner. So to answer your question, I think the future is going to be very much taking personality tests, understanding yourself, understanding other people, and not just in romantic relations, in hiring. Like if you're hiring people in your business, you want to get them to take a personality test. Don't find out what their resume and what they've done in the past. Find out what makes them tick, what doesn't make them tick, how they respond to certain situations. Same thing with you and your personalized health map. What do you eat? What foods should you be eating? What foods should you not be eating? Because you might tell me, James, you must eat paleo. You've got to eat paleo style. But unless I know myself and I've tested it, maybe that's completely wrong. Maybe I should be a vegetarian. Maybe I should be a vegan. So unless you actually do the test and you have that personalized checkup and you understand your own genes, one size does not fit all. So I think as we move into the future, it's going to be very much, you've got to understand your own emotions. You've got to understand your own physiology. You've got to understand the emotions and physiology of the other people in your life, because only then when you understand that, can you have that connection and can you see if you're a good fit or not.
Beautiful words, James, and thank you for sharing that. And that really does sum up everything that we're talking about on this whole summit series. And you're obviously yourself familiar with PH360, and really encourage everybody to check that out. That's really what that's bringing to the conversation, is that go and find out who you are. Give it a lot of information, not just about the foods and the exercises that are good for you, but also relationships, and also understanding the mind section and your personality and who you are, because that, as James shares, it is the future of relationships, the future of health, but it's also enables you to be empowered right at this point in time to understand who you are so that you can actually transition towards that space. So I really appreciate your words, James, and really a great way to summarize this whole summit series is finding out who you are is the first step. And then that gives you a completely different perspective and lens to look at the world from, whether it's relationships or anything else. So thank you so much for being here today, mate. I really appreciate your very, very real conversation with us, very down to earth, much appreciated by many, many people listening in. I'm sure many people will enjoy the humor that was mixed in through all the information there, and how this is really the information that we need to take on board to transition and help understand where we're at in our lives and how we can move forward to a place of health and happiness. So thank you so much for being here. Very grateful for your time. Thank you so much for all the listeners for dialing in, so that you've invested the time into your health and your happiness, and hopefully got some great information here, very tangible information from James on this call. Please make sure you like the Facebook page to get all the updates and the goodies and the gifts and the speaker schedules and everything. And make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, where you get free video replays from every single speaker that's been on here, so that you can share this with your family and friends and those that need it most in your community, because this is just information for you to find out what's right for you to be happy and healthy. So thank you all for being here. Thanks again, James, so much for joining us, and look forward to talking to you again soon.